All right, so now we have an empty blog project that we're ready to build. The difference between this project and what we did before with our pages was really this is just basically a static site. We're just displaying a little bit of HTML. There's no kind of data or dynamic content happening. But we should notice that we've had these models .py files in our apps. We want to use this. We want to create, we're going to create a blog using the models, which are basically our database. It's going to be linked to our database. So if we come to the class materials for this and building a blog, we've already started the app. We've already added it in the settings. So the next thing we're going to do is create this model file. I'm just going to go ahead and write out this code because I don't want to copy and paste it. But so from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. This is going to be important for like the author model that we use down here because we're going to map that to the user, which we have to create still. I'm going to use the Django.utils time zone, and that's important because I have my time zone. Actually, I'm not sure what my time zone is set to, but it's set to something, and I'm going to create this created date and publish date. And when we'll see when we go to the admin panel that these guys will have the option to click on them for now. And that now will be mapped to a certain time zone that's set up in my settings file. Then finally, from Django.urls import. Okay, now let's create our model. This should look somewhat familiar. This is a model, and we'll create first this title field. These are fields. There are different kinds of fields. We have a URL to the documentation that contains more kinds of fields. But for now, we're just going to create 3 kind of text fields and 2 date fields. We're going to create a title field, an author field, a body field, created and published date. So our title is a character field, and we can put a max length of 200 on this. Then we will create an author field, and this is going to map this foreign key is a many-to-one relationship, so we can have the same author of many blogs here, but not the other way around. And we have to add this on delete. This is a little bit different than what had been the case in the earlier version of Django. So if you're looking at earlier tutorials and things, be careful of how some of the changes in models affect the syntax. And I'll call this author. We will also create a body tag. And this is where the body of the blog will go, the main thing, and that will just be a text field. And a created date. That is a models.date time field. We're going to leave it blank by default, and it's okay to not have anything there. Publish date is also going to be a date time field, and we will also leave the blank true, and null will equal true as well. So now that we save this, again, what we've done here is rather than creating a view, a template-based view, we are creating a model. And that means that we are going to have columns in our database that represent these elements: a title, an author, a body, a created date, and a published date of each blog entry. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to add this to our administration file. Before we do that, we have to create an administrative user. So in our shell, let's go ahead and again, we're going to use the manage.py file. So if we say python manage.py, create super user, oops, I've got a problem in my model here. Django. Sorry about that. Okay, I've got to first migrate my table. So yeah, it's saying create a super user, but for what? Okay. So I am going to python manage.py migrate, and I am going to python manage.py make migrations, and let's see if I can create the super user now. Yeah, it's okay. So I'm just going to use my default username on this system, and I'm going to leave the email address blank, and I'm going to type in a password and type it in again, and now I'm ready to go. So that means that I'm going to use that this username and password to log in to my site and create blog posts, or at least I can. So before we're able to do that, though, all right, we've created our model, we created the columns for the data for the database. We created a super user but we haven't added anything to our administration file. So again, these are two new elements of these blank applications: the models, where we're creating database entries, and also then using the administration console. So within this, we want to import from the models that post. We want to be able to have access to this in our administration console. So import post, and we're going to register that guy, admin.site.register post. Save that. So now, if we run the server, python manage.py run server, and we go to the admin panel, which is located at a URL that was already mapped in our project. All right, if you remember before, in the base project, my site, when we went to inherit the URL file from the Pages app, there was already a path there called admin. So all we have to do is go to the localhost /admin, and we should see, well, admin, and now I can just go ahead and log in here. Okay, and so I see this groups and users would have been there, but I also should see this posts. And now, okay, it's giving me an error to go to these. So that's because there was nothing there. I need to add some things. So if I add my first post, this is going to be by me. This is a post. I can create it today, right now, and yeah, it's not 2:59 here, so the default time zone is not it, and I will publish it now, and it's telling me I'm 5 hours behind the server time, so I can change that later. Okay, there seems to be a problem. I think I need to do my migrations again. So I'm going to migrate. I'm going to python manage.py make migrations. And I haven't started the server yet. So python manage.py run server. Okay. All right. Everything looks good. So let's add a second post. It's also by me. This is getting old. Today now. All right. So we have two blog posts in here. This is not very informative that it's a post object number 1 and post object number 2, but notice we didn't do this anywhere. We didn't name this. I didn't create anything named post object 1 and 2. This is the default behavior, and we're actually going to make use of that. It's called a primary key. It's adding an index to these entries. This was the first one. This is the second one. We'll be able to access those indexes and make use of them shortly when we go to create the views of our different blog posts. But yeah, so okay, that's creating the model, accessing the model through the admin panel, creating the super user. The last thing that I want to show you quickly is that the fact that we can now access these things just using pure Python, because remember, this Django stuff is all built with Python. So if we come into our terminal and say python manage.py shell, I'm in an interactive console, and I can actually import these things. So I can say from blog.models import post, and now I can get from that objects all, and you see I have access to those different objects within the post. I can loop through this and say for I in post dot objects dot all print I dot title. Oops. Yes, I did. For I in post.objects.all. Just get it right the first time. Okay, sorry, it's getting late. So, as we see, this is the other neat kind of thing, that as you develop data within the site and within your models, you can access it on the back end using using Python. And if you wanted to, you could actually run interactive Python in this shell, and you can even set up Jupyter notebooks within the same project, and you can interact with everything through a Jupyter notebook. But so this is everything we wanted for this video, was the basic setup of the blog, the creation of the models within the blog site. This is everything was happening in the blog. With the exception of in settings that we added the blog in the installed apps, everything we've been doing has been within the blog app. We created the pieces and the models. We mapped these things to the administration panel, and we went into the administration panel and we started doing some stuff. We had to create a super user in order to access the administration panel. So next what we'll do is we'll create some views where we can see these objects, and we'll also talk about how to change what this looks like and how to make use of those primary keys.